what do you hope to get out of it?
Well, we would love to get out of what we would see from improvements that where we're trying to gain with this team from where we were last year to where we're trying to go for this upcoming season. And I think it's great to have a chance to go to Europe, not only use it as an educational trip, which in my opinion, some of the best education is in travel. And you go to a place like France and Greece, you get a chance to really explore and learn a lot about the cultures. But then we also get an opportunity to play 3 games, which I feel is a wonderful opportunity for our guys to get a chance to measure where we are at this moment in time of our not season, but our team, and seeing what areas we can improve on as we look forward to this upcoming season.
What'd you tell the football team this week?
That's a situation of brotherhood where you have an amazing coach and Coach Harbaugh and staff, all the hard work they put in this summer leading up to where they are now. And I'm sure whether their goals as far as where they're trying to go as a team, knowing that I'm sure the end goal is championship. That's what we all try to compete for and win. But it's nice to see a great staff and players bought into the staff and seeing that connection. And I've always been one of those people that's been a big fan of football and a huge fan of the Michigan football.
Back to the exhibition games, I guess how will you treat them? They're exhibition, they don't count, but they're the scoreboard and you're competitive, I guess, as far as how many guys play and things like that.
Yeah, everyone will get a chance to play. And that's what's the beauty of this summer is we've been working hard. Guys have been putting in the time, whether it's on their own, when we're not allowed to be together as a team, or when we are together as a team, seeing whether it's being in the weight room, getting stronger and faster, whether it's getting in the gym or getting their extra work on their own. But then when they're with us, developing what is asked of them, what their roles will be. But it's nice to see that this summer, all the different lineups that I'm gonna throw at, different rotations, and everyone getting a chance to play. I can see, how what this team will look like. Hopefully, as we come back from those 3-game trip, but then as we have September to get a little 4-hour work in per week before we have our first practice.
Do you know anything about these teams that you're playing, or what they are, or who they are? Or?
I know some team. I know our first team that we play in France, and I do not want to say their name and mispronounce it, but I would say this: I know they have 4 players that play in the NBA, and I think that is great. It's great to get a chance to play against experienced guys. They're professional men, which pretty much in college we faced last season, it was a collegiate level, but a lot of older men, being a young team that we had last year. But I'm sure you guys know this by looking at our roster, we have a lot of younger guys this year too, 5 incoming freshmen. But I think that's why this summer is a very critical time for us to add to our culture. What our culture is family being first, and when you're away from your main family members that you spent your lives with, and you get a chance to be with guys that you call your extended family, your brothers, for 10 days, I think this is the best bonding you can ever get.
How many players can you work with together in the summer? Is it only with individual players, or can you work with 2 or 3 together at a time?
Well, thank God we passed those COVID restrictions that we had before. The last 2 years, we were limited as far as how many guys we could have in the gym at one time. Now that we've progressed, in a second, I don't know what phase of COVID this is, but we're still dealing with COVID, but we're able to have our entire team at one time. But unfortunately, we haven't had Youssef here, But I will tell you this, that Youssef will be joining us very soon. Very soon.
Will he be there in Europe with you?
Sorry?
Will he be in Europe with you? Will he meet you there?
Yes.
Great.
Well, you said me.
Yeah.
I said he would be joining us very soon.
I see. You talk about culture. Can you talk about the young guys that you see as culture fits and as ball players, the new kids you brought in?
Well, when we identify and recruiting, yes, we're looking at, the skill set, how they, present themselves from a skill level standpoint, but I also look at, the character piece, which is huge for me. Character extends as far as academics as well as their family, because I don't just recruit the player, I recruit the families too. And each guy has been chosen, and they have committed to buying into the culture, because the culture has been explained to them before they step foot on campus, so you have a choice. And you bought in from the beginning, you signed up for this, and now it's time to get uncomfortable.
What kind of a player do you think you have in Youssef, and how did he sort of come on your radar? What kind of interactions did you have with him in the process?
Yes, Youssef is very dynamic, a bigger wing, and I say bigger because he's like 6'9"-ish, close to almost 6'10", and very athletic for shoot the ball from the outside, stretch, playing in multiple positions because of his versatility. If I said athletic, athletics, I'm excited about athleticism, I say it again. But he's also a high IQ player too. And I think that's very valuable. You have a guy who you didn't get a chance to watch him in person, but the tape, and I mean by tape, let me be specific, and I watch games. I just watch highlights like this. You can come up with a highlight tape, so if not. But I watch games, and games, it gives me an idea of what type of player he really is. And I started recruiting him when Caleb and Musa decided to keep it in the draft, and knowing that we would have 2 available scholarships right away, I identified that Youssef was our guy that fits, and all hands on deck. I would recruit him, and we were behind, which was fine. That's how it goes sometimes in recruiting. But I see a guy that can be a huge, valuable part of this group and team that is just all in.
What kind of sense do you have for maybe how ready he would be to play at this level relative to like a Musa and Caleb who played big minutes as freshmen?
Well, we haven't had him practice yet, but I would say this, that what he presents from the skill level, which I just touched on earlier, that we need him. We need him. It's a difference between need and want.
Sure.
Want, it's like, we want everything in life. You need something, that's a big difference. That's how I do it. That's my definition.
You mentioned that this is a young team. In terms of the limited time that you've had with the guys so far, has anyone stepped up into more of a leadership role this year that wasn't last year?
Well, just the obvious is Mr. Hunter. He's really stepped up and taken on that more leadership role, and that's leadership as far as being vocal, and also leadership when it comes to how he goes about his work. And that work involves with how he steps foot in this gym. He's dialed into getting better. He comes in, he works hard. He wants to add more to his game, to prove that he's improved each year. And each year he has added more to his game. And that's what, I've been so impressed with Hunter. The first year as a freshman, when he got his opportunity, he came in and delivered, off the bench, and proved that he can play with his back to the basket. And then when he got to starting lineup, you know, he just took off from there and he got more comfortable, more confident with himself. Always had a basketball mind. Second year he came in, he wanted to stretch the floor out, be able to show that he could add outside shooting for the team, and he put the work in. And, he's one of our guys who can score inside and outside. That's extending all the way to the three-point line. This year, stronger, leaner, quicker, adding more lateral quickness, explosive jumping, higher motor. I mean, those are the things that you have to admire and respect. And as a teammate, when you see a guy like that is, getting himself uncomfortable, but is doing it for the level to help his team to be a winning team, everyone else can follow suit. And it doesn't mean they're doing the same thing, but they're just, making sure that they are doing their part as far as holding up their end of the mark.
Several guys have talked about Kobe Bufkin, now he's really grown this offseason. How have you seen his ascension since the end of last year?
Yeah, I've seen a ton of growth from Kobe. And Kobe knows that there have been guys in our league, and I'm speaking of the Big Ten, that have made second-year jumps. We've also had a guy on our team that has made a huge second-year jump, and that was Franz Wagner. And Kobe looked at this as an opportunity for him, and he knows that we're going to need him. He's going to get more of an opportunity to get more minutes. We're going to need not only just his offensive production, but his defensive production. And it's nice to see like a young man who has, and it's not coach-driven, this is Kobe-driven. He's been in here in the spring and summer. And he could have been jet-setting all over the country. Like, some guys would do, have a workout guy in California, some guys have a workout guy in Florida. I mean, that's the new way. And I'm not mocking it, it's just, that's how it is. And Kobe spent the vast majority of his time here in the summer working out in our building with our strip coach, John Sanderson, and his staff. And then also getting extra work in with our managers, Xavier Simpson. He's been in there with him, he's been in there with Franz Wagner. He's been like, which I've always knew it, he's a gym rat. But he does it where it makes sense. Where we can always come in and get working and say, hey, I check the box. I'm here, coach, I'm here. Now Kobe is like, I'm gonna get better. I need to get better, I need to be stronger. And the kid is put on extra pounds of muscle, but the extra pounds of muscle is not where it's just fat. So this is lean muscle where it cannot prohibit him from being faster, quicker, and athletic. This is muscle that is athletic muscle that will be able to move and still not be knocked off your route. Being able to defend, being a two-way player. That's his goal, two-way player. And that speaks for a lot of other guys. So since we talking about Kobe, Terrence Williams will have a bigger role. If you look at Terrence's freshman year to where he is now, you're like, whoa, this kid has made, reinvented himself. He got leaner, faster, by the numbers, shot 39 versus 38.5, which I rounded off, 39% from three. He's going to be another one that's going to have a larger role. Look at Jace. Jace is Jace, as steady as it comes, but I've seen his mid-range shot become a little bit more consistent instead of just laying and just being a guy that can shoot spot-up threes. A guy that can be comfortable with the ball in his hands and make good decisions with the ball. So many guys that can go off, but I'm just looking at guys that were here last year. Will Shutter. Having a redshirt year, Will and Isaiah Barnes, two guys like Kobe. They stayed here this summer, spring, summer. So that's the difference, spring and summer. And they have made drastic jumps in their game. The game has slowed down to them. They know what's asked, how the defensive and offensive identity, as far as how we play, has really become comfortable to them. They've done very well in our practices that we were able to have, because we only allowed to have 10 practices before we take off for Europe. So we have a few more left. We're going to go again on Saturday. No, we go Saturday. Tomorrow's Friday, right? No, that's not the days.
Yeah.
We go Friday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
Juwan, from your perspective, what contributed to Frankie's decision to leave, and was that something that you guys expected?
Man, it came as a surprise to me. And it happened so fast. It was like, when Jalen decided to commit, all of a sudden I looked up and Frankie was in the transfer portal. We wish Frankie all the best. Very, very thankful for Frankie for what he has done for this team last year. Came in, another young man, has been one of our hardest workers on the team. Never ever had to beg him to come to the gym. Did it on his own. Guys in the locker room enjoyed playing with him, enjoyed being around him. We as a staff enjoyed coaching him. Beautiful family. We're gonna miss him. It really is. Because when a family member decides to move on, and move on to all the way out west, it's just like, you have a brother or a sister that get married and they moving out west with their family, that's going to, it hurts a little bit, right from your heart. But, I just want to see him be successful, and I'm going to be one of his biggest fans.
When you say his name popped up on the trainers report, does that suggest that he entered the portal without talking to you guys about it first? He just made the choice?
Well, I'm just saying that his name ended in the transfer portal right away.
Okay. So do you sense there was a correlation between Jalen's decision?
I don't know. It just ended up in the transfer portal right away.
With so many open roster spots, how do you weigh the pros and cons of pursuing freshmen like a Youssef versus looking at the transfer portal for filling those spots?
Can you repeat the last part of it?
How do you weigh the pros and cons of either pursuing freshmen or pursuing someone from the transfer portal?
Oh, I fit with our needs. And we needed somebody at that spot. Youssef was available, so it was a no-brainer. And Youssef's going to be a freshman too, so think about it. Yeah. I have 5 freshmen next year. Looking forward to it.
One of your transfers, Joey Baker, didn't get a ton of playing time at Duke, so I guess how do you go about evaluating, what he could be maybe with a bigger role in your program?
It's going to be great for us. We need Joey. Difference in want. So you'll see it this year, how we can use. But right now, fellas, it's too early. We don't have any rotations, don't have starters, so that's what you guys are thinking that I'm going to walk up here and tell you. I think you guys have been around long enough.
What have him and Jalen brought in terms of leadership and maybe off the court?
Key word you just mentioned, leadership. They brought leadership of, let's call it what it is, Eli Brooks. Wow. Eli Brooks was Mr. Stabilizer. I'm being chilled right now just talking about him. Been an amazing guy to coach and also learn from. Because I say learn because he has a high IQ, knows the game. Also, another thing is leadership. Was A1 for the years that he's been here. And those 3 years, we're gonna miss him. And to have a guy like Jalen and Joey step right in with their experience, guys that have played, Joey coming from Duke, 85, Power 5 conference, and then you have Jalen, who's 4 years in, starting guard at Princeton. They know a lot about college basketball, and it's nice to have those type of guys, not just to be out there on the floor, with their skill set, just helping you in offense and the defensive end, but also great locker room guys, and that's so critical. Knowing from my experience of being a former player, That locker room is so big, and no matter how small it is or how big it is, but when you have guys that enjoy being around one another, things get a little out of whack, guys know how to reel it back in. When another coach out there on the floor, I don't have to micromanage everything. It's good to have two guys like that. That's a part of us. They are one of us. So that's how they have adjusted to this culture right away.